I'm Joseph Wolf, CEO of EFG Wealth Management Israel.
And I am Michael Dadoun, Head of Private Banking at EFG Wealth Management Israel.
And this is Market Makers IL, a financial podcast where we bring you conversations about shekels and stories about success in the Israeli market.
But let's be clear, this is not investment advice, and the conversations with our guests should not be taken as advice either.
All right, it's full disclosure time, David. You've been an elusive figure in my Israel network for some time. We have mutual friends in Israel, including my neighbors. I even work with David's brother-in-law, who's also a friend, before moving to Israel. And yet, except for a brief exchange on the beach in Herzliya years ago, we've never managed to connect until now. So I, for one, am really excited to have you here. Now is the time to get back to Jacoby, if you have anything to say.
Oh, way too much. I have to do a shout out. His grandson is having his bris today, his circumcision. So hopefully he'll name him after me.
So mazel tov to Yehuda Jacoby, who I know as Jonathan. We both started at a firm many, many years ago on the same day. I think it's the first time in history, maybe the only time, where the two new analysts welcomed to a department both attended Yeshiva University.
That's amazing. Oh, the pride of Yeshiva University.
And our head of research, who was a lapsed graduate from Central, said, never happen again. Anyway, so here we are. Market Makers IL. We've spoken with family officers, VCs, and founders. David Schwartz represents another important component of the local ecosystem, a senior employee of a multinational based in Israel, an important part of the local landscape. David is VP of Tech Strategy, Tech Partnerships, and Emerging Tech Innovation for Pepsico. Prior to Pepsico, he worked as a consultant at McKinsey. He has got an MBA from Harvard, and he worked as a senior analyst in the Business Leadership Program at Home Depot. I thought I worked at large companies in the past, but PepsiCo has almost 320,000 employees. David, can you walk us through your Israel story and perhaps some of PepsiCo's Israel story?
Oh, that's a fun story. The history actually goes back a little bit before that. So the career started back. Wait, I have to start. We have to start with
pop open one of these Pepsis. Come on.
We have a nice the sound and the taste.
I love this sound. It's like when I open tennis ball boxes,
Yes,
so this is the same feeling, it's this special feeling. That's why I totally understand it. Yeah.
Yes. But you need that first sip right after you open it.
Yeah.
It just feels so good. So the Pepsi story started, it's actually the PepsiCo story, started a few years ago, about 7 years ago. And it was the head of Europe, our global head of Europe at the time. He had come out to Israel for a board meeting with Strauss. And as he's here, Strauss had taken him around to see the local ecosystem. And he saw the startups, one startup, two startups. And after he saw so many startups, he turned to me. He's like, David, you know this ecosystem so well. You've been living here. You understand the business here. Should we, PepsiCo, do something with startups? And I just had a light in my eye because I had been working in Russia and my family was here in Israel and thought this is opportunity, an opportunity to show him the beauty of Israel, the startup ecosystem, what it could do. And he said, okay, so bring some of the leaders from Europe, Seth Cohen, our CTO of Europe at the time, Colin Lenihan, bring them over, show them around, meet the venture capital firms and tell us, should we do something here? So had them over here. And I was just amazed. The entire venture capital ecosystem rallied behind me. Like I've never seen, I never appreciated the Israeli ecosystem until then, how much each person said, wait, you're bringing leaders into Israel. How could I help you? What do you want to see? Which startups? What could we tell about the market? And after hosting these two leaders in Israel, we went back to Ramon, the head of Europe, and we told him, and I presented to him for an hour about the Israeli ecosystem. But here was the crazy part. So this is the beginning of the journey. About 55 minutes into an hour meeting with Ramon, I said, Ramon, here's the opportunity. What do you think? And he just gave me a look. He said it was over Zoom, back in the beginning, early days of Zoom. He said, David, I'm not sure. We're over $60 billion in sales. This is back a number of years ago. And you're telling me these small startups could have an impact, such a profound impact on our company. And he was just staring at me. And I thought, this is my one chance. Speak about the competition. So I can't say the word, but I spoke a little bit about what others in the ecosystem are doing.
What a red brand may have been doing here?
A brand that we don't talk about, a brand that we are proud to be ahead of, but it spoke to him about what's happening, just focused on the facts. And at the end, after speaking to him for just 2 minutes, describing the market, he said, you know what? You've convinced me. You have 1 year. 1 year to prove the value of technology startups, but you have 3 rules. And these rules have changed everything that I've done in Israel from now and will continue into the future. So rule number 1, I want you to solve the problems of our business. It's not about just seeing nice technology, interesting, cool things. Solve a need in our business. Rule number 2, I am measuring you on one thing and only one thing, which is how many of these solutions you introduced to our company actually land in our company. It could be great technology. It could be the next new thing in the world. But if we don't use it, then you have not succeeded. And third, if you get too bureaucratic, if you get too corporate-y, too global with me, I'm shutting it down because that's where things don't go anywhere anymore.
It's funny because I had the same experience in my last role where I was meeting these technology companies and I was running a research department and we were trying to bring in new tools for the research analysts and actually looking at a product here and taking it over the finish line and implementing it so that it was published. Barclays Research powered by took a really long time, but I was actually able to do it in 2 situations, but it was much harder than you think on paper. And honestly, a year was not enough.
Oh, so this is the greatest part. A year, it goes like that. It goes so quickly. So imagine this, a year later, all day and night, I was working. I was my lone man show, middle of Tel Aviv, working, finding startups, speaking in the business. What are your problems? Introducing them to startups. And then Ramon had said, I'll be out a year later. So I was planning for this big trip. It was the decision moment. Thursday before he came out here, he sent me a 1-line email. David, change of plans. I can't make it. I'm like, what? What do you mean you can't make it? I'll never forget. I went home that Thursday. I looked at the email. I'm writing him back like, Ramon, what's more important than coming to see startups? And he's like, there are other things happening in our company, but don't worry, we'll speak soon. So completely went home that Thursday evening. You can imagine all I did the entire afternoon was cancel every meeting I had set up. And I had spent weeks preparing everyone. Ramon's coming. You have to meet. He's the head of the global groups. He's so fascinating. And that Monday, so the weekend, my wife was cheering me up. She's like, just drink, keep drinking. It's like, just enjoy.
What are the branded alcoholic beverages?
Yes, we do not do alcohol, but I had some other drinks. And then Monday, in the middle of the morning, I'm in the house. I'm having coffee with my wife. I know nothing on the schedule. And then I see on the news, PepsiCo announces a new CEO. That person, Ramon, became CEO of PepsiCo. And that was the dream. Wow, right? So I immediately reached out. I'm like, Ramon, congrats. But you said I can't be too corporate-y and too close to bureaucracy. What do I do? Could I talk to you? and he just started laughing. He's like, no. I'll be out there. Give me 6 months. And 6 months later, he came out with Jim Andrew, our now Chief Sustainability Officer. And we spent the day together. And we looked at startups. We looked at the ecosystem, introduced them to a number of solutions working with our company. And at the end of the day, he just turned to me and it was those pivotal moments. And he said, good job. But that good job was like, yes, that moment. And then he continued. He said, I want you to lead this globally. And that was the moment. I said, now we have a future ahead. And he turned to Jim. He said, Jim, Dave's going to report to you. And now I want you to make this really big. And I would say,
what year was that?
This is about 7 years ago, about 2018, 2019, give or take a year. And it was right at the time we acquired SodaStream. Mm-hmm. So it was a fascinating time because Jim turned to me and said, okay, if you want to do this right, when you look around the world, there are many startup ecosystems and each ecosystem has its specialty. If you look at New York, you have fintech. If you look at California, you have Silicon Valley, a number of different areas. And we said, let's put our leaders when it comes to venturing and innovation at the startup ecosystems. Let's be at the place where all the technology and innovation is happening. And I think that's the power of our team here in Israel, our power of the team in California and each of our locations, where the action's happening. We're the bridge where we show all the challenges in the market, all the challenges in our company, and then we go to the startup ecosystem and say, okay, help us find the best problems. So I could keep going. There's been so much history, but I think there are a few pivotal moments that happened after that. The first is, so now we have a shop. It's official. We have tech venturing and innovation globally. One of the hubs is here in Israel. And what we found is there are phenomenal technologies coming out of Israel. A lot of it was deep tech. And those areas are agriculture, sustainability, predictive maintenance, areas of manufacturing. It just goes across the gamut by industry and across different types of technologies. But the real differential is the deep tech that they have here in Israel is unique. And that's how we keep winning relative to others. But then the California solutions, I call it winning because they win in certain areas because that's where they have the deep tech. So I think it's really about each market, knowing their specialty, what they're great at, and then taking it to the companies.
Excellent.
So let's take a step back. We've described your background and broad range of work experiences. How did you get to where you are today? We know your role was just expanded. So keen to hear, how you got,
the journey of life, the journey of this career, starting like you in Yeshiva University. So first, we have to have a Pepsi together. Can we have a little bit? Yes. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's good. As this room gets hotter, this cold beverage actually gets better and better. So the journey started, it actually started when I was in Yeshiva University, and many students studying business, economics, and the dream is to go to Wall Street, right? So many students are like, I want to work in Wall Street. So I had this dream. I didn't even understand it. I wanted to be an equity analyst. I wanted to look at companies, kind of like what my brother-in-law does.
You admire your brother-in-law very deeply.
I admire my brother-in-law, but I was not dating my wife at that point, so I didn't know how much I would admire him. But it was such a fun experience. And all the mentors would say, okay, you have to talk about a company. Pick a company and know that company backwards and forwards. And I picked Home Depot. Simple, right?
Really? I did that when I was in business school, and I did Seagate.
Oh, really?
Yes, I had the same experience in business school to get my first equity job.
Yes, and you know that company so well.
Exactly.
So this is the best part, though. So now I know Home Depot. I go to every interview. Actually had a couple of offers. Was so excited. Solomon Smith Barney at the time.
Worked
back
there.
You worked there?
I worked there.
Oh,
on Greenwich Street.
No way. Okay. So I was like, dream come true. I didn't know. I was following in your footsteps. Almost. Almost. But then another pivotal moment. My parents' car dealer that they were good friends with, yes, in Rockland County, New York, was roommates with the founder of Home Depot. Okay. So David Kurland, I'm speaking to him, and my parents are good friends. I was saying how I interviewed, I kept speaking about Home Depot. He's like, that's my best friend, Arthur Blank. We were roommates. I think it was Babson College. We went to Babson together. And I hope I have that right, but I'm pretty sure. I said, I want to work there. He said, no way. There's no yeshiva student who's working at Home Depot in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm like, it's not yeshiva, it's yeshiva. He's like, yeshiva. You're not getting a job. No difference. And so I said, please, I'll do anything. He's like, no chance. Every week I called David Kurland and I said, Dave, did you send my resume to Arthur? He's like, nope. Next week I called him again. Hey, did you send my resume to Arthur? He's like, nope. After about 2 months, he turns to me. He's like, tell you what, I'll make you a deal. If you stop being so annoying, I will send your resume to Arthur Blank. And I'm like, deal, but you'll really send it? He's like, yes. He sends my resume. 2 days later, it's actually almost this time, it was springtime, I get a call from Home Depot, CEO's office. We're starting a business leadership program, taking 15 students from schools around the country to be fast-track leaders in our company. Every 6 months, work in a different part of the company. We believe leaders have to be taught how to be leaders, and they need exposure in many areas to really succeed. And I said, sign me up. Where can I interview? They flew me into Atlanta for a day and a half of interviews.
Was Jacoby living there at the time? Because you're really following in his footsteps.
Oh, that's hysterical. No, he actually followed us to Atlanta.
Really?
Then he followed us to Boston. He's got to stop following us.
He's got to stop following you.
He followed us to Teaneck, and we're just waiting for him to come to Israel.
I tried that once.
You tried it? Okay, we'll have
once.
to tag team with each other. So, but this is the best part. So I'm interviewing, but I knew the company so well. So each interview question, they're like, what do you think of the company, the economics? I'm like, let's break down the balance sheet. Let's go.
Here's my spreadsheet.
Yes. And I remember it was a merchant interviewing me who knows all about hardware. And I start talking about the economics of the business. He's like, slow down, buddy. I get it. You know the business. You've done your homework. And I got the offer, and I had just gotten engaged recently. And pretty soon after, Home Depot said, do you have an offer? Do you want to come this summer to work in Atlanta? And I was like, I'm engaged to a New Yorker. We grew up down the block from each other. Rochelle and I played tennis together since high school. high school. I said, "Are you ready to move away from New York?" And she looked at me like, "Really?" And then I'm like, "It could be an adventure." She's like, "You know what? Let's start our life with adventure." We got married. I started work, and we moved to Atlanta all in the same week. And it changed our life. So when you ask like the background, how did it all start?
Wow.
It all started getting married to a wife who said, "Let's live an adventure together," and has always been so supportive.
And you avoided the pain of being an equity analyst.
Yes, thank you. You can tell me how, hopefully it was the right choice. But there was one piece of advice that came that helped me so much in that decision-making. And a couple of mentors said the same thing. They said, "Look, you could be one of many." I was speaking to them about my career, and I said, "I always want to be 2 steps ahead. So Home Depot's fantastic. Could I build a career there?" They said, "Maybe yes, maybe no. But if you want to potentially go to business school and see what else is out there, you have a choice. You could go to Wall Street, be one of many bright people applying to top business schools, but you won't really stick out. Or you could go work at Home Depot, be quite unique. You're clearly bright. You've clearly worked very hard. And if you want to apply to business school, you have quite a unique resume." And it just it clicked, said, "Okay, this is the company I've been speaking about. I've fallen in love with the company. The culture of the people at Home Depot are great. And if I want to have options, and I really want to learn how business works, not just, speak about business, but learn the business, there's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." So it went from there for a few years, 3 years, to Harvard Business School. And business school, I would say, so Home Depot taught us how business works. We spent 6 months in a store, each one of us in this program, and I really got to learn a store from the bottoms up. Harvard taught how to think more strategically, how to look at different business cases, see how the world works, and put yourself in the shoes of leaders of different companies. After that, I think it became McKinsey. It was almost, you're at Harvard, and they say, "Look, there are many choices. You could go the finance track." So once again, I could go to the equity analyst, go to banking, or I was really enjoying business, continue the business track, but take it from a strategic lens. So if Home Depot taught how business works, McKinsey taught how to think strategically. And from McKinsey, it was PepsiCo.
So how long did you work at McKinsey?
So McKinsey was 6 years.
Oh, 6 years.
It was 6 years. And it was working across industries, across functions. It was really a fast track. It was an amazing education. I think McKinsey is a great place to be, but even better place to be from, because you put in your hours.
Yeah.
And raising a family, having children, at some point it says, okay, it's time to balance things out. And PepsiCo was just an opportunity of a lifetime. I'll never forget my first day at Home Depot. So it was the head of strategy. He was working there. He also came from McKinsey. And he said, "Okay, Dave, welcome to PepsiCo. We have a great job. We have a project for you. We're going to build the global strategy for our snacks, biggest snack company in the world. And but I just took another job. So I'm not going to be your boss anymore. So you're just going to walk down the hallway to Indra, our CEO, and she'll tell you what to do." And I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Welcome to
I'm
Pepsi.
like, "Wow, welcome to PepsiCo, right?" So I said, "Well, thank you." And I was like, he's like, come with me. And then as we started leaving his office, he paused. He's like, whoa, slow down. It's like, "You don't go to Intro without a jacket and tie." So he's like, everyone, I didn't know this at the time, but everyone had behind their door a jacket and tie in case she called them to her office. So he gave me a jacket. It went down to my fingertips, well past my fingers. The tie completely did not match anything. My wife would have been, "What are you wearing?" But there I went. We went into Indra's office, and the career started at PepsiCo.
When was that?
So this is about 13 years ago. This is 2011, 2010, 2011, or 2012. Yeah. So it's right 14 years ago. Yikes, time goes fast. And from there we started global groups. We started our global, Indra had started creating global groups at PepsiCo, meaning we have businesses across the world, hundreds of countries, but we're not getting the full advantage of the scale of PepsiCo. And she said, "I want to create that golden thread, that connective thread, connecting our leadership and our ideas, our advertising, our operational excellence across all the markets so we can learn from each other and take iconic brands and iconic products, iconic ways of doing business, and share that all together." So that was the beginning.
Wow. So when did you move to Israel?
Great question. So imagine this, working for a few years in corporate, and you're working in New York, living in New Jersey. It's a great career track. And again, mentors to me are pivotal during many points in your career. And one of our leaders, Salman Amin, I remember, pulled me aside. He was chief marketing officer. Said, if you really want to be a leader in this company, you have to learn the business. Said, okay, great. He's like, no, not in corporate. That's not learning the business.
Oh, this is the international stint we're going to talk
Yes,
about.
this is it. He said, go far from New York. Learn how this company works. We're international. A large part of our growth comes from international. Don't be that American who only knows America. Learn cultures, learn different ways of operating. And at the time in Russia, we had multiple businesses. We just did an acquisition in Wimbledon. We had a dairy business. We had our snack business, a juice business, a beverage business, the largest food and beverage company in the country. And the opportunity was there to lead revenue management. It's finance, it's promotions, pricing, et cetera. And it's a time of extreme change that was happening there. Rapid inflation, you had competitive dynamics changing. We had the political situation happening. But most importantly, at that point, was this before the current situation. It was about the currency going up and down, the fluctuation, and connecting with the consumers in Russia. And it was an experience of a lifetime. It was really picking the boy up from New Jersey, New York, and moving him across the world.
But your adventurous wife, who was willing to do Atlanta, was not willing to do Moscow.
She was
what I'm
not.
saying.
That is it. So she said, I'm willing to live in Israel and I'll do the commute. So I was doing the weekly commute, living in Israel and commuting to Moscow. And it was amazing. The culture there, phenomenal. The people, hard workers.
So how was so that was my next question, actually. How was your way of doing, business adapted in the places you've been a leader and decision maker? It's been quite crazy. So how,
crazy, right?
How did you adapt?
It's not easy. I won't say it was easy from day one. You come in as an American, moving to Moscow, trying to fit in. But one of the great things PepsiCo did and they taught is they do a cultural immersion. And you immediately get a team. You start working together. And I'll never forget the woman sat me down. She's like, welcome to Russia. Let me tell you about the culture. And there are a few things she said that just I had not known. Said first, when you greet people, this is not in Western Europe. When you're in Western Europe, you're in Spain, everyone's hugging each other. It's like here, you don't hug each other. You don't even extend your hand. The woman extends her hand first. And then if she extends her hand, then the man will respond. She said chivalry. She's like, you do not get in an elevator before the women. The women go first and then go. There were certain cultural norms. She said also, you don't greet people more than once in a day. So when you come into the office, say hi to everyone. But if you pass them in the hallway that afternoon, don't say hi again because it means you don't remember you already greeted them. Just like these cultural nuances, but they were so important to fit in. And I'll never forget, I sent an email to one of my team members, said, hi, what do you think about this? And her response was, you already said hi to me today. I'm like, what?
Not even in writing.
Right? I hadn't thought of that. But these were the culture.
In a Western culture, you say hi in every single email. And
every email.
And, it's
you're walking in the bathroom, you pass someone in the hallway, you're like, hey, you smile. There, no, I look down and I did not make eye contact. I was so nervous, I would say hi again. But the team was amazing. It was a hardworking team, extremely bright people. And what I learned is every culture I've worked with and being in these global roles, you go to many countries, people are so proud, but there's certain parts of their culture that they're really proud of. And it's just learning what is the element of pride they have. Like when we're in Israel, people are proud of the creativity, the entrepreneurship. When in Russia, they're proud of the heritage, the intelligence, the smart, the rich history that they have, the hardworking culture that's there. Being part of something that's more than just yourself, but something that's bigger than yourself. And I found working in the country and appreciating the culture, but also working with the team to respect it has really helped fit in and to learn.
You talked a little bit about this, and PepsiCo has done some pretty big deals in Israel, actually, and they've been associated with Strauss for a really long time. They did the SodaStream deal, which kind of put them on the map. But your role seems to be much more focused on non-user experiences, but more behind the scenes. What's going on beyond food, or what's happening pre-food almost, to help the company? What are you really looking at in terms of internal use? You touched on it a little bit, but are the things besides like the general category of deep tech, are you looking to transform the company with technologies that are in here? And how does that move towards maybe future acquisitions?
This is a great question. The The world is changing so fast around us. I would say technology now is before, during, and after people eat products. And what we're looking at right now, so I lead our, as you had said at the beginning, our tech venturing and innovation, as well as tech strategy and our partnerships with large tech companies. And there's some common themes that come around, which is from the seed that goes in the ground to the shelf. Every part of the value chain, there's need for technology. The world of technology with Gen AI, with digital twins, is changing so quickly, and we have to be at the forefront. Having one of the largest private fleets of trucks in the United States, trucking technology, critical, manufacturing, making all the snacks, being the largest food and beverage company in the US, we have to make them as efficiently and maintain the highest standard of excellence. Then consumers, over 1 billion people consume our product every day. We need to have technology that we could connect to the consumers, both the shoppers who shop in the store and the consumers who consume our products. So technology today is at the forefront. I would say what you said is behind the scenes. I would say behind the scenes, part of the scene, and actually after the scene. It's at every part of what we do today. And I think the startups are disrupting in so many ways.
And are you making direct investments in startups to take the technology? Are you using them as, or are you just bringing them in? You're now a client of the startup. What's the real strategic connection between them? And the point you made about, when you have senior execs coming from big multinationals, those schedules clear up really quickly because Israelis are really proud of what they're doing and they love meeting the big guys.
Yes. I love the pride in Israel of what people have built. But coming to your question, the technology comes in many areas. And we want to use it. Actually, let me take from a different angle. We want to use technology to help grow the business. Like, we're a food and beverage company, and the goal is to help PepsiCo continue to grow, to put more smiles on more faces every day. It's as simple as that. Therefore, we're looking at technology from a very strategic lens. How can we use technology to either accelerate our business, to better improve our performance, or better connect with people? But that opens up, because we're vertically integrated, it touches so many parts of the business. Now, when you're asking about acquisition, to me, it's not about the acquisition of a technology. It's about how can we work with the technology or a tech solution to better improve PepsiCo's performance. If we could do something with a commercial agreement, why invest? The goal is to help the company grow, the startup, and to help PepsiCo succeed. So it's a win-win. Now, there are times where an investment does make sense. There are times where we want to help accelerate the company's growth in line with our global footprint. We want to help inform their roadmap so they create, they invest, or they develop technologies in line with the CPG industry, consumer goods industry. So I would say it's more about finding technology, understanding exactly what our problems are, and we'll go into it a bit, but that's our magic sauce, is we know the problems at PepsiCo so well that we'll find the startups that will solve those problems, and then working with those startups, help them succeed. I'll never forget it. When I first started, about a year into the job, the CEO of one of the startups here in the local ecosystem came into my office and he just started crying. I'm like, why are you crying? And I look at startup CEOs, they are iconic figures. They are strong. They've taken a beating. And I'm like, we just signed an agreement together, a global agreement. Why are you crying? And he looked at me and he's like, because you've put food on the table for tens of families.
Right.
He's like, I knew there's a problem in your industry. I knew it because I come from your industry. No one believed in me. No one. And then you understood your problem. You found my company and you did a pilot. And a pilot without all the bureaucracy, you just tested the technology and we proved we could add value. And you got your company to sign an agreement. And now all those people who work for me have jobs for quite a while. And they have a whole new second wind. How are we going to innovate to do everything to make PepsiCo succeed and help us succeed?
How's that company doing now?
They're doing great, of course, because they're working with us. they're actually doing really well. And I'm really proud because they've expanded their footprint quite a lot. And they're in many countries right now. And but these are the success stories. And it's not one. There are many success stories. So whether the CEO comes in crying or comes in with a smile celebrating, when they sign that agreement, there is just such a happiness and satisfaction for me, because it's not because there's an investment. The value we really add is we're helping them figure out exactly what their product should be to match the industry need. So we're not just giving them a few $1,000,000 to help them grow. We're giving them the contracts that are going to make them sustainable for the future. So I think for PepsiCo and for the startups, the best model is use the big companies to help startups really understand what problem they're solving, hold their hands to fine-tune their solution to really solve it. And once they've solved it, scale them like they've never dreamed of. That's the beauty of the relationships PepsiCo has with so many startups.
Maybe it reminds you a little bit of your McKinsey role as a strategic consultant. That's a little bit what you've been doing. So using kind of those skills as well to kind of replicate them into those new projects, maybe.
That's exactly right. I'll add to it. But the skills of the people in our team, and we're very selective in our team. There are people who have industry experience and people who have some strategic experience. Because it's only people who are pragmatic enough to understand a company, a startup, and our own company. We need that pragmatic approach. This isn't about big visions or great ideas. It's, could you solve a problem? Exactly what Ramon said when we started our discussion. Solve the problem. But I also need people with strategic background to think big, to be disruptive. We're pushing boundaries. We're at the tip of the spear. Pick your phrase. That's what our team has to be. And only if they're strategic thinking and thinking forward thinking will they really be able to challenge the status quo in our company. So you look around at our team, I'm so proud of the talent, but it's people with that background. I think it's only because of my background in Russia, my background in working the business and in strategy, am I able to succeed in this role.
Great. So PepsiCo is one of the great global brands and marketing companies. Can you name...
Wait. Great or the greatest? The greatest ever. You have to drink another Pepsi after saying that. Yes.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that.
So the greatest brand.
Okay, the greatest brand and marketing company. So can you name some great Israeli brands, not as great as PepsiCo, but some great Israeli brands, and how has your view of local marketing and branding shifted since you moved to Israel?
So I'm going to take brands from two lenses. One is the classic consumer goods, and our partner is Strauss, and our partner is Tempo, the bottler. So naturally, I'm going to tell you the best brands are Strauss and Tempo because they have iconic brands like Pepsi and Taco Chips, which is Lay's, Cheetos, Doritos. Those are the greatest brands in the country. But I think there's another element of brands, which is the high-tech brands. And I think those brands right now, we just heard of the acquisition that just happened recently with Wiz. It's, right? There are a couple of large acquisitions. These technology brands, I think, represent the country because we're a high-tech country here. And a high-tech country needs brands that are global brands. It's not just brands that address the local market. It's brands that are universally applicable. The classic local, globally applicable, but locally applied. That's so many of the brands here right now in technology. And what I love about them is that they're universal, that they could apply in the United States, they could apply in Latin America, they apply in Asia, but they're solving a technology. The technology is solving a problem that's a global problem. And those are the brands that I'm most proud of coming out of this market. I think what we have to do, though, in our roles as corporates is find the technologies, these gems, because I wouldn't say this is the country of marketing technology. Technology is the country of building technology. And the brand has to be built through partnerships with large companies like a PepsiCo, like pick the other large tech brands that are here. Those R&D centers, those big, the Microsoft, Salesforce, Amazon, those are critical. It's coupling the brands of local technology with the large companies that I think bring the ultimate success.
How much time, you've got a global role, how much time do you spend in Israel versus other areas of responsibility? Do you think about it that way at all? Or are you kind of just mixing a pot of ideas and trying to bring it to the company as on a daily basis, or do you allocate?
Oh, it's a great question. If you ask my wife this question, if you ask me, you'll get a very different answer.
Yes, men look at a trip to the West Coast starting from the number of days on the ground, and women look at it at the time, include the airtime. I've never figured that out.
Yes, I left Monday morning, 1 a.m. flight. She said, Sunday night flight. I'm like, no, it's 1 a.m. She's like, the taxi left our house Sunday night. So we have this debate all the time. I'd say, yes, I do live on United and El Al quite a bit. But it's I'm really focused on where's the best solution around the world for the problem we have. So when I look at different technologies, look at cybersecurity, majority of my time will be here in Israel because that's where the greatest solutions are. When you look at marketing, it's other markets. You look in the West Coast in the US, fintech, a bit more in New York and London. The time is really spent wherever the best solution is around the world. Here in Israel, a lot of it is about the deep tech solutions. I'd say in most programs we've run, we run programs by functional area. So we'll do fintech, we'll do our CFO tech, we'll do restaurant tech away from home, we'll do marketing tech. We'll find one or two gems coming out of Israel. I think that the time will be proportional to how many great solutions we could find in the country here. But because we're global, we're looking everywhere. India, so I'm spending time going to India. I have a team over there. We're going down to Latin America because our team is there. My time is split around the world. So as long as my wife is patient with me and she's willing to endure, I'm getting to see the world and find the best solution to solve the biggest problems our company has.
Is there a tech hub we haven't heard of we should be thinking about?
Oh, a tech company or
a
tech
like a
hub?
geography that's catching up with
geography that's catching up. No, it's a great question. I think in India, there's a tremendous amount of momentum right now. I think the United States is still the United States. They have cutting edge technology and it continues to be. Despite everything I read, time and again, the entrepreneurship, the creativity, and the deep tech is there. And the knowledge coming out of universities is the highest standard. But as I was recently in India and was just blown away by the amount of startups, how the ecosystem is evolving. And literally every time I'm there, it leapfrogs forward. So I think right now, the biggest message is it's about global. It's knowing it's no longer about, I have to go to this country to find the technology. It's I have to have my tentacles and my connections around the world. And therefore, our team reflects that. We have a global footprint to find the best technology anywhere in the world to solve the biggest problems. And I think there's a big message there, though, because we're speaking about countries and we're speaking about ecosystems and startups. I think the message for startups is solve the big problems. So it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter if it's a smaller country in Israel, it's a large country, United States. If you're going to solve the big problems, you're going to get the big visibility from the largest corporations around the world. If it's a small problem, you'll get small recognition from junior people in the company, and it'll be very hard to scale. So it's irrespective of the market. It's more about the problem you're solving and the scalability you have.
Very interesting. What advice do you wish you had received starting out? What advice would you give to people who come to you for career advice?
Oh, that's a great question. So the advice I wish I had, and what advice do I give? Think about that one. So I had it interesting. I just hired someone who's leading our tech strategy on my team, and he actually comes from McKinsey, and he said he's now Mahesh, few months working on the team, and he said, "I've never seen someone hugged by more people than you." And everywhere I go, I just give people a hug. Where we go to any office, except when I'm in Moscow, yes, then it's a handshake if they allow me to give a handshake. But I just love hugging people. And I think it's all about relationships. It's not about the transactional part of business. It's about the relationship side. Each day when I'm bringing in new solutions, it's disrupting the norm of how people work. That's challenging the day-to-day of how they work. And a relationship is the only way to convince people, hey, could you do me a favor? Hey, I have this great idea. What do you think about this? I'd love to get your advice. Hey, could we try this together? I'll take the risk. You'll take the upside, but let's try something together. So first piece of advice is build relationships and make them real relationships. The second piece of advice is know the business, but know it cold. I fear so many people now when they're joining our teams, they're looking for the Wall Street job. They're looking for the corporate job. But they build a superficial understanding of the business and they keep floating to, here's strategy, here's the big idea. If you're not anchored on how the business really works, you'll never understand it. And I think that's critical. I wanted to say at the beginning, but it's actually perfect you asked it. When I started the career, we were talking about the beginning days, and I was in this business leadership program at Home Depot. And they promised us every 6 months for 2 years, we'd work in a different part of the company, finance, operations, strategy. They were the greatest jobs. After our first rotation, and we were the first time experimental program for them, the CEO, which was Arthur Blank, came down to the 12 of us and he said, listen, I came to a realization, you all don't know the business. And I grew up in this business at Home Depot. Until you grow up and really learn the business, no one's going to respect you. So all of you are going out to a store for 6 months. I want you to go out, learn, work harder than anyone else. And if you survive that, we'll come back and we'll talk about how business really works.
That was a great pivot.
The greatest pivot.
That's a great pivot.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those pivotal moments, and it was phenomenal. I did have an embarrassing story though. So this is, my wife will shoot me for sharing this, but this is, we're digressing, but it comes to the advice. The third piece of advice is make yourself memorable. Have an opinion, have something to share that people really know who you are and you have an opinion that you add value to the team. The person who just puts their head down, they work so hard, which is critical, and I work extremely hard. But if I don't have opinion, there's only so far you could go in your career. Mm. So this is how I let myself be known, but not always for the best. So Home Depot had a cheer. And they used to go, give me an H, and you'd all start clapping. This was like way to motivate everyone. Give me an O. So after we worked in the stores for 6 months, the CEO said, great, I'm bringing my leadership team. These are the executives at Home Depot to hear for 5 minutes, each of you 12 who've been out to the store, because we want a fresh set of eyes and a fresh perspective. What did you think? What did you grow from the experience? So we all shared for 5 minutes our experiences. I went last. So having go last, I had to lead the cheer. I was like, great. So I'm giving the cheer to the heads of Home Depot. I am a year out of college. I'm feeling so great. I'm like, give me a D, give me an E. And I'm keep going, right? Give me a P. I'm like, give me an E. And they all started cracking up. I misspelled Home Depot.
Well,
But every time I walked to lunch after that, and any executive saw me in the hallway or in the lunch, in the dining hall,
I remember
the Schwartz kid,
Yeah.
they'd point from the other side and just start laughing. I felt like that little kid. But you know what? When I was in Harvard and I wanted to get a summer internship, the CFO of Home Depot had gone to Motorola. I gave him a call. He's like, you're that Home Depot, the one who can't spell? You got a job anytime you want. And leave a memory, leave a positive memory, be strategic, be a thinker, but leave a memory that people respect you for having thoughts.
What is your definition of success, beyond the obvious material measures?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm thinking about this one. I think success is balance. There are a few parts of success. One is balance, and each person has their own balance. It means balance in your personal life, balance in your professional life, balance in doing hobbies, doing things outside of work that really drive you. And if you don't find the balance, I fear that people who work so hard and commit their life to just one of those elements, if that element goes away, their entire life could crumble versus having that balance in different parts. I think the other is success is fun, just enjoying what you do. If anyone asks our team, what's the team culture of my team? It's fun. People have fun. They're all bright. They all work really hard, but we have fun doing it. And we combine fun in everything we do. We go to a city, we're going to meet venture capital firms, meet startups. We'll also go out with them. We'll have fun. We'll have a drink. I think that's critical. And third, I think success is keeping to your values. I think there are a lot of pressures in the world, especially as the economy has highs and lows. And being able to look back and say, you know what, I'm proud of what I've done. I'm proud of the values I had at work, proud of the values of the company I work for, and just proud of the values I'm instilling in my family. But I think if you have the balance, if you enjoy what you're doing, and you could say that you've lived a life full of values you believe in, that's real success. If you have a few more dollars, I don't see that as a pivotal success.
So this seems like a pretty good place to do our favorite part of the show, which is the rapid fire questions. You up for it?
Bring it on.
Worst career advice you've received?
Oh, wow. This is the first question. Worst advice. I think it's actually building on what we were just saying. It's saying, put your head down, work hard, and don't speak beyond doing your work. And I remember sitting in a meeting and I was so young. I'm like doing that advice. I just work hard. I put my head down, didn't make eye contact. There were a bunch of what I saw back then as like really senior people. And then someone turned to me and said, do you have any of your own opinions? And it was just a moment. I'm like, but I wasn't supposed to have opinions. I'm like, oh, I could have opinions. I think the worst advice was don't think. I think it's critical. Have opinions, but always be able to back them up with facts.
Who's your personal business icon?
Personal icon. Wow. I'm gonna have two here. I think icons are people that you know, but I think it's also not always the people that are in the public face. So people I've had experiences with, I would say it's Arthur Blank and Indra Nooyi. These are CEOs I've been exposed to. So I could say more than just I've read a book of theirs or an article. And I found Arthur was a person who knew the business cold. And that's someone who you respect because they understand the business and they understand what it means to make decisions. Indra, CEO of Pepsico, she has a visionary, just saw the future. She believed in sustainability before it was a trend. She just saw trends before they happened. I think icons are people who both have the understanding of the business, but also that vision of the future. I think there's a third icon. It's the CEOs of these startups. I think it's the hidden gem. When I go to conferences and these CEOs of startups get up, they're people who have taken a beating, people who believe in a vision, who have taken the risk. Those are icons. Those are people who, when they grow up and they become these great mega successes, or even if they don't succeed, but they try again and try again, to me, those are role models, as long as they can keep a balance in their life.
This is a changed format for the PepsiCo attendee. What is your favorite snack food?
Yes.
And it's also a good question because you could be viewed as the expert on snack foods.
Oh boy, no pressure here.
We usually say Israeli, so I'm going to say Israeli too.
No, and it's universal because we're global. The ultimate, the potato chip is a global product. Actually, believe it or not, it's the potato chip. Call it taco chips here, Lay's there, but hear me out.
Ridged or
No,
straight?
It's actually the straight Lay's chip, but there's something you have to do. The Lay's potato chip, because when you take a potato out of the ground and you see a potato and you see it go from the farm right to the plant, and then as you go in the factory and you see a potato get sliced, they peel it, they slice it, they fry it, and then taking that potato off the line, as it's hot and warm, and let it melt in your mouth is the best feeling. So if I have advice, it's not just to have a potato chip, have a Lay's without flavor.
It's to go on the Lay's factory tour.
Yes.
And get a hot.
Yes, a hot potato chip and let it melt in your mouth. Just close your eyes. Put it on there. No flavors that ruin it. Is authentic as it gets. And just let it sit on your tongue and it melts. I'm telling you, you will never snack the same way again.
Now that is aspirational. And finally, what is the last thing that you've changed your mind about or something recent?
And I've changed my mind about, besides coming on this podcast.
Which you may be having
better.
second thoughts about even now.
Even now. I'll give a business, changed my mind on a business side. It's which solution to work with for PepsiCo. So I'll be a little bit serious for a moment, but we could also have some other fun family decisions. Having teenage kids, I have plenty of things I changed my mind about. So I'll give one serious and one funny one. The serious one was there's a solution we were working with at PepsiCo. Great solution. Solved, as we've been discussing throughout this conversation, they solved the problem of our company. But then we realized I have a problem. It can't scale. It can't scale outside the United States. So we had to change, as difficult as it was, to work with a different company that could actually scale with the scale of PepsiCo, the size of PepsiCo. Difficult decision, but if I'm not making the right decision to solve big problems with big solutions, then I'm not doing the right service to the business. The other thing I changed my mind about, just for your laugh, my daughter just flew this morning with her friends, and she left the house at 5 a.m. So I said, okay, take our car, leave it at the parking lot, take the keys. We have an extra set of keys. I said, no problem, Daddy. See you later. And she just didn't tell us where she parked the car. So I spent this morning with my wife. She sent a video, say, look, I locked the keys in the car. I parked it right here. Love you, bye. And I spent the entire morning preparing what I thought would be preparing for our podcasts, but instead going with my wife parking lot to parking lot till we found it at the very last parking lot. So my change of decision is don't give your children the car.
That's probably very good advice. Thank you very much, the no longer elusive David Schwartz, for spending some time with us.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate
you.
it. Great speaking.